Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by Callum. How you going, Callum? What's something that's made you happy recently?
Um,
Gets harder every week.
yeah. Honestly, I've just been still enjoying Marvel Rivals. It keeps on giving. There's a new Doctor Strange skin that's been leaked, which looks amazing. It's Zombie Strange. There's been some characters that have been Ultron's coming out. The Thing, Johnny Flame. So it's like it's only gaining momentum and it's fun to play. You don't have to wait long for matches. They don't nickel and dime you. It's just a fun game and it rewards you by playing. So it's like, I can get into it every day and it's always fun. I'm always even if when I lose a game, you're always working towards a goal of some kind. So it's like it doesn't matter if you lose. It's like when I would play Overwatch, like when we would lose, which was frequently, it was painful for me because I'm like, we're not getting anywhere. Like I'm shit. I'm not getting anywhere. But with Marvel Rivals, I'm shit, but I'm working towards a bigger goal, which makes me happy.
That's
Good.
good. It's good that the game seems to be doing well because a lot of those Marvel like live servicey games,
They're cursed,
they're
yeah.
yeah, they're mm, not great. So,
Yeah. Also joined by James. How you going, James? What's something that's made you happy this week?
um, I think just like walking around at night or driving around at night, like people got their Christmas lights up, and that's just nice to see. Like
Yeah,
it's
Yeah.
just
we've got new neighbors and they put up an awesome inflatable Santa
mm,
next door. And I was like, wow, it's new that like they're into decorations and stuff, so like that's
yeah.
cool.
Like obviously you've got some people who do their houses up really
Oh,
crazy, like full on, and those are great. But just the other night I was walking and just some people had just a little those couple little lights that you stick in the yard that look like Christmas trees, like
yeah.
just 30 centimeters high and just running along. And I was like, oh, that's nice. Like it's got Christmas spirit, that feeling
Yeah.
that that's this is the only time of year that you get that
Yeah, yeah,
feeling.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's nice.
Also joined by Alan. How you going, Alan? What's something that's made you happy this week?
I am going well. Most recently, I got a good week of work in which I got paid a lot of
Yes.
overtime.
Nice. Welcome back from
And
Tasmania.
thank you. I got paid to sleep on a boat, so can't get much better than that. And they gave me $100 gift card for Christmas,
Oh,
so I
Nice.
nice.
can partake in the consumerism that is
You know what Mario could give me for
Christmas.
Christmas? A slap in the face.
I was gonna say Alan's been there for like 3 months and he's employee of the year, almost the boss.
That's it. We speed run these things.
Yeah, you're gonna
We,
speed run.
we don't
You're gonna
have.
be
Oh,
ahead of the company.
I'm also going to get fired quickly as well. So he'd be like, within 2 years, I'll be either sacked and
Alan
cast
does things
aside.
in extremes, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
and something that's made me happy this week, I guess, is we had our Christmas lunch at work and it was catered by Al Jannah. For listeners not aware, that is like I guess a Lebanese kind of charcoal chicken fast food chain in
I describe it
Australia.
as like less of like more of an upscale KFC with a Middle
Yeah,
Eastern sort
Yeah.
of
yeah,
And
bent.
it's delicious and we had
yeah.
it for Christmas lunch. That was nice. That was good.
That's
Do you
good.
know what Mario could give me for Christmas lunch? A knuckle
Slap in
sandwich.
the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd be happy about it too.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You'd be
Um
lucky if you got a lump of gold.
All right, so it is our Christmas episode. But first, last week we put out a message to our listeners saying, "What is your must-watch Christmas episode, like Christmas movie every
Christmas
year
movie,
that you
favorite
watch?
Christmas movie,
Favorite
yeah.
Christmas movie?" And we got one reply from Adam LaRosa. Thanks for commenting, Adam, and participating. And he suggested Die Hard, which
Of
is the
course.
the
Classic.
perennial kind of Christmas movie.
Yeah.
It's almost the default.
We talked about it last year how I was like that's
Yeah.
one of my favorites, if not my favorite Christmas movie. Like I used to watch it every Christmas Eve. It's the best. It's just so good.
It's a
Uh,
safe answer,
yeah,
but it's a reliable answer.
it's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
This year for Christmas movies, we'll start. We have a feature of discussion, but we'll
Mhm.
start with some other little smaller movies we've been watching. I'll start with Carry On, the new Netflix kind of Christmas Die Hard adjacent kind of
It's like an action thriller.
action thriller movie set on Christmas Eve,
Hmm.
much in the same way that Die Hard is, I suppose. But it was all right. I've been trying to watch Christmas movies with a bit of difference this year instead of
Mm.
Yeah.
just kind of like, normal kind of Christmas movies. And this had that a little bit. I guess it's the most similar to Red Eye with I guess Cillian Murphy.
Killing Murphy. Yeah.
Um and it has those kinds of elements where you've got the terrorist in your ear telling you what to do, kind of like,
Yeah.
your
Get
hostage
this.
situation.
Yeah.
Get
Get
this
this
needs to
through
happen.
custom.
Get
Yeah.
this through custom. This has to happen, otherwise your loved one dies or something happens or a bomb explodes, whatever
Yeah.
else.
Phone Booth was another movie we were comparing it to.
I love
Yeah,
that film.
Phone
yeah.
Booth's really good. It's very dated, but it also stands up very well.
So it has those elements. It has some Taron Egerton doing some running in a very Tom Cruise fashion, which I appreciated. He does that kind of run that Tom Cruise does, and just like the man's been paying attention. Um, it was pretty good. It was decent. It had some twists and turns that I didn't expect, and
Mm,
Jason Bateman plays the bad guy.
that's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, and yeah, not bad. It was a bit of a surprise. It's a standard movie. You can probably what you're going in for. You know what I mean? When I say Red Eye, Die Hard, you get an idea. It's not going to
Yeah.
deviate from that. But it was a nice surprise, and it
Mm.
wasn't overly long, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh no, I thought you froze. That's all.
that.
Yeah.
And I guess moving on, I also just briefly I watched Gremlins last night, which was my classic one that I'm
Classic.
gonna rewatch this year.
Yeah.
Absolute classic.
That's another top
Gizmo
tier.
is love. Gizmo is life.
Did I ever tell you guys? So one year for Christmas, not Christmas, we went to England, and as a present to me, our gran got our grandfather a Furby as a joke present one year, and it was Gizmo, and I didn't know it was Gizmo at the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I took it, and it was a good time. It made the noises that the Gizmo noises.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made all those noises, and it cried, and I kept it in a cupboard because I
But it
didn't
was
want
a, it was actually it was a Furby, but
It
in
was a
the
Furby.
Gizmo,
Yeah, correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
fur pattern or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so I rewatched
mistreated it.
that.
How could you?
No, like I didn't pay attention. I didn't feed it when I wanted to be
Yeah.
fed, and because yeah, it's a whole thing.
They're they're like they're so creepy. I think everyone has a story of it being in having a Furby like be in a toy chest or a a
Cupboard.
cupboard or like somewhere put away in a box and it just starts talking in the
Yeah,
middle of the night.
it gets hungry and it's like
Ugh.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
Yeah.
that's for you rich kids. The best we got was like the Furby toy from McDonald's that just opens its eyes. That's the best we could do.
Back when McDonald's toys were good.
Keep in
Yeah.
mind this was a gift from our grandparents. I wasn't rich.
Um,
We were just poor
Yeah.
You know
boys.
what I got from my grandparents? A beating.
I knew that was coming. My Furby was the homeless cat in the street that was dying slowly. No.
I said it had rabies and it scratched
Yeah.
me and I had to get a rabies injection for Christmas.
My Christmas dinner was roadkill.
Anyway, so moving on. You boys also watched Michael, I believe.
Callum and I
Man,
rewatched Michael for the first time, which we talked about last week and a
yeah,
few weeks ago. Like Nora Ephron wrote and directed this movie, which is one of the sort of underseen, underrated,
yeah,
not very well liked of her movies. But I remember watching it as a kid,
yeah, me too.
um, and loving it and watched it so many times with my sister and my parents, and I hadn't seen it in like 20 years.
Yeah, same.
And Callum brought it up on the show when we were talking about Nora Ephron. I was like, "What? She did that movie?" And then
Yeah,
we were
crazy,
like,
right?
"Yeah," we were like, "Oh, we have to rewatch it."
Before we get into it, can I just say
Mm,
I actually paid to rent this film
nice.
from it's not a bad deal for some of these movies. It's like
Yeah.
$4.99. You can rent it for 48 hours.
Mm,
The quality, so the version that I had legally,
yeah.
wasn't the best quality, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, it might just be, the copy that I owned wasn't the best. So I rented it.
Mm,
Same quality.
yeah.
So I'm assuming that this was a version which is like
It's
1080i or like a DVD upscale. I was
it's
like, what a shame.
it's a movie that's never like I think it was on DVD once a long, probably 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
other than that, there's been I don't think any real
No
proper HD.
remasterings
There's
or
no
yeah.
remaster. Yeah.
but it's
Um,
still great.
yeah, I can see why people don't like it, but it's just one of those movies that, again, we talk about every week. They don't make movies like this anymore with an actual
Yeah.
budget and A-list stars. And that's just kind of like a wholesome, like comedy that's not really there's no there's not like, there's no bad guy. There's no,
It's a road trip film.
sort of,
And
yeah,
but it's like
yeah,
the drama is the emotional arcs that the characters go through as they
yeah.
travel to Chicago.
It's about the character development.
Um,
That's,
and
we should,
it always blows my mind that who's Margot Qualley's mother.
oh, Andy McDowell.
Yeah, it's every time I see her now, I think of the up and coming star.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's fun. Anyway, so
yeah.
please continue.
No, I was just gonna say, because it's perhaps not as well known or well liked. Like we should say, it's like John Travolta plays the angel, Archangel Michael, and an old lady. Like he's living with this old lady in Oklahoma or somewhere,
Yeah, Oklahoma.
like in the middle of nowhere, and like the old lady sends a letter to the like tabloid newspaper saying, "Oh, I'm living with an angel. I think this would be a good story." And so these journalists, for this tabloid rag, come out to see if it's fake or
Mm,
to get to get to get
just a
a good
story.
scoop for the holidays.
Yeah,
And they go there and they find out that Michael is real and it's John
yeah,
Travolta, like with these big wings on his back, but he's like drinking and smoking and
yeah.
he
He's
doesn't.
a philandering. Yeah, he's just a ne'er-do-well. He
Yeah,
like
and
he likes fist fighting. He drinks, he smokes, he
yeah,
womanizes. It's awesome.
yeah, and it's just like hijinks ensue as they try to get him back to
Yeah.
Chicago to sort of prove to their boss that it's real, and then they can run this story and sort of make money. And of course, he's subtly sort of
He influences the journeys they go.
yeah,
Um,
like the movie's really about the character's journey and not really about
yeah,
the plot or anything. It's not
yeah.
I wouldn't call it a vibes movie, but it's almost has that energy of like it's just about.
What I like about it is that Michael wants the characters, and without spoiling, I mean, no one's gonna
Yeah.
watch, but
You should
um,
watch it because it's actually a good movie.
he wants people to believe he doesn't have powers, but it's evident as you watch the movie that he knows pretty much everything that's going to happen,
Yeah,
and he guides the characters in a way that provides the most growth to that person.
yeah,
So it's like by the end of the film, you've seen that like while he doesn't appear to be a regular angel, like in terms of he's not wholesome, he's
mm,
kind of gross. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Um, he ultimately does what's best for the people he's with, and that's like his mission.
yeah,
Um, but it's like Nora Ephron's such a great screenwriter that she weaves all this in while making you think that Michael is this kind of lout. You know what I mean? Like a not a
I think like
but
I have no clue. I haven't read anything about this, but I think just the idea of like this is probably where she got the idea from is like, oh, he's an angel, but he's rough. He's rough around the edges. I think
yeah,
just that he's like, oh, he's an angel, but he smokes and drinks. It's like I think that was probably the initial spark of the idea.
yeah. He also
Um,
the thing I like most about the characterization is just he's obsessed with lying and telling stories. Like not like you don't know what's true and what's not, but like I believe the stories
oh
he
yeah.
tells about fighting Lucifer or whatever. But then he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I invented that."
Yes, I invented standing in lines.
Yeah, and like stuff like that. And like the other really cool thing is that like everybody smells him differently.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, it's just
I,
like you said, it's like a great. I don't know. Is it a mid-budget movie? I guess it would be
yeah, yeah.
because they did spend some money on it.
Hmm.
Um, wholesome kind of vibes film, and I do think it is a vibes film because it's not an action-packed. It's not a drama. I guess it's a comedy, like
Yeah,
a comedy,
it's definitely funny. Like,
slight adventure comedy.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. No,
yeah.
it's one of those movies where I can see why people don't like it, but watching it again, I'm like, oh, I really enjoyed it.
It's very different than her the most of her catalog. So
Yeah,
maybe some people are like, I don't get it.
yeah. But it's also just yeah, it's just an enjoyable movie that I'm glad that we revisited,
I
and it
also kind of
also,
like I like what it has to say about religion. You know what I mean? He's like this angel,
hmm.
but he's also just kind of a dude. And
Yeah, I
like,
think that's what I like about it too. Is like one of the reasons he acts that way is because he's come to Earth and he just enjoys being alive on Earth,
yeah,
like doing human stuff. Because
yeah,
he's like you can
you can't do
only
that. Yeah,
yeah, it's like in heaven it's not really you don't really I guess you don't have a body the same way. You don't have there's not the same pleasures or vices in heaven.
yeah,
So he just like that. I guess that's why he came. That's one of the reasons he came to Earth is like just to be a dude,
yeah,
smoke and
yeah,
drink, and like when he's eating the cereal and he's just putting sugar and more sugar,
yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
it's so good, so good. It also technically it takes place during Christmas, so
Oh, it
technically,
does?
yeah. So technically, I guess it is a Christmas movie, but it's not. That's really not an important part of it. Um, but yeah, so that's what's interesting actually is because we were talking last week about Nora Ephron movies, and of course, when Harry Met Sally takes place over multiple years. So I think there is maybe a Christmas scene somewhere.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Sleepless in Seattle starts during Christmas.
I think in
Um,
most of Nora Ephron's movies that deal with a larger part of time,
yeah,
there's always a Christmas
but
scene or a little montage
it's
somewhere.
like because Mix Nuts was like her one that's 100% a
Yeah,
Christmas movie. Whereas
yeah.
we're talking about all the other movies as well, and it's like they all have a
They'll have
Christmas
they will have a little
element.
scene or a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, like not Sleepers. What's the other one?
You've Got Mail has
You've Got Mail has a Christmas in the middle.
yeah,
And the movie it's based on, Shop Around the Corner, ends during Christmas, so that's kind of a Christmassy movie as well. So yeah, it's just all part of this
Yeah.
light Christmas canon.
and I guess for rom-coms and those kinds of movies that people wrote back then, or she wrote and made, directed. Christmas also has the right vibes for the kind of emotional notes that she wants to hit too. Christmas serves a
Yeah,
part in those characters' growth as
Christmas
well.
is cozy as well,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it
yeah.
adds to
The
it adds to
wholesome,
the romance and the emotional stuff because you have to
yeah.
bring
yeah,
people together.
yeah,
Christmas has
100%.
that balance of like tension and connection.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah. I need to revisit Michael too, by the sounds of
yeah,
it.
it's worth watching.
And I guess we'll move on if no one else has any other Christmassy movies they watched before our feature discussion.
Oh, I've
Uh,
got a couple more Christmas movie, but let's get to our main discussion, and then if we have time after, we'll talk about some more
all right,
Christmas stuff.
so our Christmas classic for this week is again something a little different, than your
Mm-hmm.
main kind of Christmas film that you would be aware of. It is the anime masterpiece, the classic, the Satoshi Kon,
Mm-hmm.
um, absolute banger that is Tokyo Godfathers.
Yeah. This
Now,
is
it's a shame that he didn't make many more movies.
He died when he was 46, and it's one of the greatest losses in
He would be up there
art
with
and
Hayao
filmmaking.
Miyazaki if he was still alive today.
I mean, he just like so. I love Satoshi Kon. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. Um, I had seen Perfect Blue. I had seen Paprika. I had seen um, the series he did, Paranoia Agent, but I had never seen Millennium Actress and Tokyo Godfathers.
I've only
And it's
seen
just,
Perfect Blue, and I've only seen Perfect Blue and Tokyo Godfathers, and I need to
yeah,
revisit more of his work.
yeah.
He's
And
such a legend.
I, as I say almost every week, there's so many movies that I have to watch and catch up
Mhm.
on that I just never got around to it. And I finally this year I watched Millennium Actress, which is great. And then for Christmas, I was like, we should watch Tokyo Godfathers and talk about it. And so now I've seen all of his films. So his first feature film was Perfect Blue, 97. Then he had Millennium Actress, 2001, Tokyo Godfathers, 2003, The Paranoia Agent TV series, 2004, and then Paprika, 2006. And then a few years later, he passed away, only at 46 years old. So all of his films are incredible. Like he's got the best.
Imagine starting your career with Perfect Blue.
Exactly. Like he's just like one of
He's
the
on another
best.
level. Yeah,
Yeah,
on
one of
another
the
level.
best. Like just every movie he's made is a masterpiece, is an absolute banger. And it's such a shame that, he's gone. But yeah, Tokyo Godfathers is one that I meant to watch for years and years and years, and this year finally got around to watching it. And oh man,
Yeah.
this like they're all good, but this is a great movie.
Yeah.
Well, I think I watched it and my first reaction was if this was a live action film, it would probably be lauded as one of the greatest, not only greatest Japanese films, but
I
it's one of the
think
greatest kind of dramas or dark
I
comedies,
I
period.
think I think that's what's interesting about Satoshi Kon as a filmmaker is that all his movies, all the movies I mentioned, are anime, but all his movies are ones that you wouldn't really think of when you think of anime. Like they're mostly like stories that could have been made in live action
Yeah.
at a
Yeah.
bigger budget, and probably take longer to make. But I think the way he makes uh, anime, and like the way he makes his films, is like because people when you say anime or you say animation, people think that that's
Yeah. It's
what the movie,
fantastical. It's
yeah, or
children.
that's for
It's
kids, or
yeah.
that's what it is. But in reality, it's like it's just a tool to tell
A
a
medium.
story, and
Yeah.
he uses it so well to tell grounded, humanistic stories with a sort of magical realism or fantastical element to them as well. Um, and so, yes, you could make these in live action, and yes, a great filmmaker, live action filmmaker, could make these in great live action, but it just wouldn't be the same. And yeah, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but like the way
Yeah.
he
You would
made
lose
like,
something in the transition
yeah,
from animation to real. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just they're such incredible movies, all of them. Like I'm a huge Paprika fan. Like I think that's probably my favorite, but like Tokyo Godfathers, seeing it for the first time this year is just like that's up gone up straight up there. Like it's
Yeah.
one of the best movies I've seen in a while. Like such a funny,
Yeah.
sad. Like it's just all the emotions.
It has
Well,
everything in it.
it's
Yeah.
interesting because like you don't really personally, I don't really associate Christmas with Japan. Like I've never seen any other movie or read about any other
I
story that's
think,
like set during Christmas, specifically Christmas time in
yeah,
Japan. Like it opens with like a nativity scene or whatever.
yeah.
And I'm like, that's
I
interesting because like
think
the only other connection between Japanese and Christianity is silence. And that's a very different
So,
film, you know?
yeah, it's very different. No, but I think even though like I think there is a small Christian
Yeah.
population in Japan, but not really big enough to influence. But I think because Japan just loves the pop culture elements of Christmas, I think that during Christmas, like it's a thing there.
Yeah, like
Um,
Christmas is again because we get into the consumerism of Christmas
yeah, it's
here
not a
in
It's
Western.
not really a Christian thing. It's more the
It's also
commercial.
like a almost like a yeah like a commercial romantic holiday,
Yeah,
and KFC is huge there during Christmas.
I
yeah.
don't,
So
and the
big
other
love to
thing
the
is,
Colonel.
I don't know how it is in Japan, but at least like there might be other kind of days of significance around Christmas time in Japan that they kind of just use as like as Christmas. Like it was
From
Yuletide in Europe, and
I
it's like,
saw I saw a interview with Satoshi Kon, I think, or I read something about it somewhere where the end of the year in like January 1st is a very big
mm,
holiday. And so like the movie Tokyo Godfathers takes place like from Christmas to New Year's.
yeah,
And so I
Yeah.
think that period is just
yeah,
it's a special time for everyone around the world, I
yeah,
think. Even, if you don't celebrate
Yeah, yeah,
Christmas,
yeah, yeah.
is at the end of the year is
yeah,
a special times. But I think specifically from a Japanese context, it's like you've got yes, it's Christmas, which is more of a Western thing, but it's just that end of the year magic
yeah,
and
Yeah.
the renewal, the rebirth,
yeah,
which I
yeah,
think there's themes of that in the movie. We should
yeah,
say Tokyo Godfathers came out in 2003. It's an anime film about three homeless people who find a baby, like a newborn baby, abandoned in the trash.
Yeah.
And so they kind of try to find the baby's parents and like return her to to her
Yeah.
mother, and there's wacky hijinks ensue as they go throughout Tokyo, trying to figure out where to go, what to do, trying to survive because they're homeless. They don't have a lot of resources, and people treat them
Mm.
terribly. Um, and it's just this really nice, human, grounded story. But like I said, Satoshi Kon also does this kind of there's like reality and fantasy, like
Yeah. There is
they
a
kind
certain
of
element of magical realism in the
yeah,
movie. It's not necessarily explicit, but like you
no,
can tell the main characters kind of believe that like God is on their side almost.
There's
There's
also
like
yeah,
this.
a
There's also. Sorry, go on.
no, you go on, Callum.
There's also this running thread of synchronicity through the film.
yeah,
So
coincidences.
yes, like a string of coincidences that are designed to propel the narrative forward. I mean, that's like a whole thing in like occult circles is like synchronicity. You know, John Constantine's famously his actual superpower in the comics is he can tap into synchronicity, so he can be where he needs to be
Mm.
for at a given
But
time.
but in this
And
case, it's not like an occult thing. It's
no,
more
no, no,
just
I'm
like
just talking
a
about I'm talking about just like the general concept of
yeah,
synchronicity as a magical tool,
mm,
where it's like the characters they'll see the right person for the right occasion, which will give
yeah,
them the next location to go to. And
yeah.
it's like it propels the narrative forward to
It's
get them where they need to be emotionally as
I,
well as story wise.
I think it's also it makes the feeling of the movie that whole kind of whole Christmas spirit,
Yeah,
Christmas time, like all these little miracles keep happening.
yeah,
They keep avoiding danger, or they find a clue that they needed at the last,
yeah.
or or someone comes along to save them at the last minute. And usually when that happens in a movie, it's kind of lazy. It's like Deus
Yeah,
Ex Machina or whatever.
th
But this is like a
that's kind of what I
series
meant to
of
mention.
it's a series of little Christmas
Yeah,
miracles that
Yeah.
propels them on their journey. Um,
Yeah.
it's done to work. It's done well to kind of balance that idea of, okay, these are very kind of high coincidences, but
mm,
they fit within the realm and the nature of the story. It's not
mm,
just, oh no, how are we going to fix this? It'll make it, a coincidence or a little miracle. No,
yeah.
the whole story is kind of propelled on the idea that occasionally things do happen, for that reason, and that's what,
And
it's
it's also this idea of like these connections, like this person was actually connected to this person, and this person has the same name as this person, and it kind of leads them to where they need to be. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just in this
Yeah.
magical
That's
way
yeah, that's
without being explicitly
yeah,
fantastical.
that's quite what I meant. It's like they attribute these to like, oh, this is like God watching over us. I'm like, you can't argue with that necessarily in this movie because it's like the way things work out. It's just kind of like, yeah, I
Yeah,
can argue, I can see the argument for that too. It's like
yeah.
the way things
And
pan out. It's like, yeah, maybe they are being watched over by an angel or something.
and what's great about the movie is that each character, has a backstory and has a sort of tragedy that led them to be homeless, and that they also have a relationship to being a parent or being a child, and so when they find the baby, it's like the baby is like
The baby symbolizes hope, kind of
yeah,
for
and
them.
it's like it's that thing that helps them all to
the
uh
baby's their vector to kind of heal and I guess
yes,
deal with some of the
past
issues that, yeah,
trauma.
past
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah, it's like the baby is what drives them to heal as
They
as they go on as characters.
And it's interesting the way it deals with the main characters all being homeless is they all have different reasons for being homeless, and it doesn't just
Yeah.
kind of funnel them into being
Mm.
like a one note kind of they're just bums. It's like,
Yeah,
no, Gin has like, he was maybe a gambler and alcoholic, and he was ashamed. That's why he's homeless.
yeah.
He was ashamed to kind of run up debts, and he had to leave his family for pride reasons. And
Mm.
you've got Hannah was never accepted.
Mm.
It's like she's got a rougher kind of time of it being in the kind of the trans and gay community.
Yeah,
And, she's always struggled to fit in. She's never had a
yeah,
home, right? Because people don't accept her.
yeah.
And then, is it Miyuki?
Miyuki,
Yeah,
yeah.
Miyuki, maybe did something wrong at home, and then she run
She's
away,
like a
essentially.
runaway,
She's a
yeah.
runaway. So they all
Yeah,
have
young
different,
girl.
yeah, they all have different reasons for being homeless, and the movie deals with that so gracefully.
Mm.
And it uses that narrative with the baby as a way to, as you said, propel that narrative forward too, where it's just kind of like you explore the reasons behind their homelessness and how,
Yeah.
overcoming this
But
ordeal can lead them
it's
to,
very simple as well. Like it's not like, oh, here's a huge flashback or
yeah,
here's a long dialogue scene. It's just like you get little hints at them, their backstory and stuff. And you get a couple of little flashbacks.
yeah,
But overall, it's like they're just well-rounded, well-written
yeah.
characters, well-performed characters.
Yeah, and it's so
And
masterful the way the movie uses the story of finding the babe, finding the baby's home to kind of, I guess, resolve all of their like
yeah,
backstories and deal with those kind of conflicts and traumas and
Yeah.
yeah,
And like you said, they're well-rounded characters where you don't have to show everything they went through. You can show a little bit of that, but it's more so how they interact with the people around them that you see this person's probably been hurt in this way,
mm,
and that's why they're, I guess, guarded in this manner, or that's why they will respond in this way.
mm.
Which is, just great, filmmaking.
And there's also an element, without spoiling anything, is an element of if they were just honest, or if they just apologize, or if they just stuck around for a bit longer, their lives would have probably been a lot better.
but that's also real life, man.
Yeah, no, no,
Sometimes
no.
just
That's
it
what
just
I'm
yeah,
saying. It's
yeah,
just it's
it just goes wrong.
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you can just, one little thing goes wrong and your whole life kind of falls apart and
It,
yeah,
it's it's a great illustration of, like you said, how one small thing can make such a huge impact on how terrible things can get,
mm,
but also how sometimes it can be the smallest thing that you need to do
to
to
fix it.
to fix it and get yourself back onto the right path.
Mm.
Which I think it balances really well in both aspects.
I think it's interesting as well. Like, I mean, homeless people are still stigmatized around the world, but I feel like, early 2000s Japan, it was probably a lot of people, it's quite a stigma to be homeless. And they even mentioned things like that in the movie where characters like, oh, the way they're treated. But I think Satoshi Kon, what's great is like he humanizes these characters and he treats them as real people. Um, and yeah, it's an interesting, it would be interesting to know the cultural history behind,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, because I think he's treated really well. There are so many
Yeah.
scenes that are, there's a bit with a really old man, like an old homeless man,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's dying, and it's just like, it's so touching yet and there's funny moments as well.
Yeah, it's just a bit goofy in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, One of my
yeah,
definite favorite scenes was when they're at the train station and they're on the phone trying to call the hostess club,
mm,
and everyone's just walking by them, not even looking at them.
yeah.
And that's so kind of,
Or when they're on the train and
yeah,
there's everyone's like their
yeah.
smell.
At least on the train, yeah, people notice the smell, whereas at the
Yeah.
station, people just walking right by, and it's so much like how a person who is down on their luck
Mm.
can
Mm.
feel so invisible. And
Invisible.
I'm guilty of it because partly you don't want to stare because sometimes, depending on the person, they can,
Mm.
come at you or be upset with you just for just looking. But it's just that sense of they almost become invisible. Um,
It's also like, yeah, I mean, not to get on my high horse or whatever, but it's a problem with like capitalistic society where everyone's busy, everyone has a place to be, everyone has things to do, time is money. And so sometimes just slowing down and acknowledging people,
Mm.
or being kind or whatever is like the last thing on people's minds. I read a thing once, long time ago. I can't remember it exactly, but it was like the human brain can only see like 50 to 100 people as human, and then anything beyond that figure is just like an abstract concept. So it's like it's
What's
really
the
hard
oh,
to,
there was something related to that about like humans' natural group sizes in tribes,
yeah,
yeah,
and it
something
doesn't
like that.
exceed past a certain number because then it
Yeah,
just breaks down.
Yeah,
it's the total number of relationships or acquaintances a person can have
Yeah.
before it becomes unmanageable.
yeah,
And we don't have support systems in
mm,
just worldwide. Obviously, Japan has this issue because
mm,
this is a movie that deals with those issues, right? People
mm,
lack support systems needed, especially in a country like Japan, which has a high stress work stress environment, right? It's
mm,
not
Yeah.
easy living in Japan. Um, and the same worldwide, at least in, the Western countries, we probably don't have the support systems that we need to keep situations like this,
mm.
I guess, at bay, right? People aren't supported because you said it's a capitalistic lifestyle. That includes Japan,
Yeah,
very much so.
100%. Yeah.
And so it's like, what do you do? Obviously, as individuals, we can't do much,
Mm,
but at least we can be aware, and
yeah,
people can be aware of the struggle that others go through. And especially Christmas is not an easy time for a lot of people.
yeah.
And that's also
Well,
kind of, it doesn't deal with that explicitly, but it kind of touches upon it a little bit,
yeah.
right? So it's like, you just got to be, I guess, more aware about what people are going through at Christmas if they don't have a
Mm,
support system.
yeah. I think also, despite appearances in a lot of their media and anime and video games and their pop culture stuff, like Japan is quite conservative, especially the government.
Oh,
Um, and
hugely.
so, yeah, and so anytime you get stories like this, especially with like a trans character like this, it's really interesting, to think of how it would have been received in
Mm.
Japan and how even 20 years later it stands up pretty well. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that just it's a testament to Satoshi Kon and his kind of humanist take on these characters um and also just yeah, stylistically he's just a genius.
It looks gorgeous.
He
Yes,
like
gorgeous.
him and the animation team obviously like just when we talk about anime not being as good as it used to be, I think
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is an example like just that beautiful animation. They kind of it's not overly colorful, but it is like
It has
It's
its
somewhat
moments.
it's somewhat muted,
yeah, it's
but it
muted in
has it has a, it has a really great contrast.
yeah, like it's
Yeah.
just it's just not full on like Paprika is something
Yeah.
that's extremely colorful, whereas this is more like
Somber, but
muted, realistic,
yeah.
but it's got these pops of color and this
It has also like the snow is nice and white.
yeah, and I guess
Uh,
because it's winter, it's like everything has this
Yeah.
nice
And the
yeah,
lights are nice and yellow. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's got that contrast going. So even though the colors aren't particularly vivid,
Mm.
it still plays with tone.
I also really like how, because it's set in Tokyo, obviously this big city, very dense population, lots of stuff going on. I love how alive it feels, and there's so many people and vehicles and whatever. And one thing I really like about the movie is all the billboards you see
Yeah.
around. And speaking of capitalism, whatever, it's just like all these billboards, these advertisements of like beautiful people like holidaying in tropical islands and these beautiful families. And then it pans down to street level, and it's our homeless characters trudging through the snow. And
Yep.
it's this great contrast of like the capitalistic advertising fantasy world and then the world we actually live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like, and visually, it's just really
I
striking.
I also like the kind of, the more traditional Christmas messaging, I guess this movie has about, I guess, choosing a family.
Yeah,
Because
chosen families are good.
that's a good Christmas kind of trope, right, with these kind of movies, like
Mm,
especially for the year outsiders, year loners. And this movie deals with that really well because like the three protagonists, they are each other's chosen family.
mm,
And they go through fights in the movie, they have conflict, they make up, but they always come back to each other.
yeah,
And that's something that I did like in this movie as well. And the soundtrack is very nice.
yeah, it's great.
And the movie has everything, man. It has car chases, action scenes,
The
drama,
end,
thrillers.
the end, like the last 15 minutes is crazy. Like there's this
Yeah,
whole car
Yeah.
chase and then a foot chase, and then they're on top of
yeah,
this, and it's just like, oh my God, so,
yeah.
so good.
And yeah, it has sad moments, it has funny moments. It runs the whole gamut of like,
Yeah.
just as you said, it's like really like a big budget, like
Oh,
a big
but
budget live action movie vibes in like an
Mm.
animated movie.
I
I would
like
say
how,
I did love that scene. Speaking of tonal shift, when you see some of Hana's backstory.
Mm.
And then there's that scene where a character yells, "Don't call me fairy."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was very good. I like that.
Yeah, she's like a drag performer, and yeah, she gets
Yeah,
angry. Yeah. Also, Hannah's expressions at the end when she's yelling at Gin about like lying,
Yeah,
and her face is like twisting, and it's like
yeah,
a real close up of her like
yeah,
yelling. Like that stuff's great. The
yeah.
expressions are great. Yeah, the animation is just great. Um, yeah, I just
I think people need to see this movie.
100%.
it needs to
Like
be re. Has it been re-released at all on like 4K or anything?
I don't think it's 4K. I got the Blu-ray, but that
Yeah.
came out a while
I
ago.
I
think
think it needs like a Criterion release. You know what I mean? Like it needs that big
Yeah, I know.
bombastic release.
I think Paprika and Millennium Actress got 4K releases. I've got all of them on Blu-ray. Um,
I think this is one of those movies. If I won the Powerball and I had like my own single screen theater, this is one I'd do like every Christmas. Every
this is
Christmas,
Oh
good.
my
every
God.
Christmas,
Seeing this on the
yeah,
big screen would be great.
every Christmas
Yeah.
Eve you'd be like, I'm doing a double bill, and one of them is always going to be Tokyo Godfathers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because I feel like seeing this on the big screen would be like an experience you don't forget.
Yeah.
100%.
Did you watch it on your big screen, Alan?
No, unfortunately, I did
You
not.
know,
I
look, let
plan
me just
to.
say, let me just say for all the listeners here, we too once had a big screen. And you know, if you don't lose it, Alan, you'll lose it. Take it from experience. So maybe you should start using it.
Alan spent all his
Um,
money on this big
Yeah, and it just sits there.
theater system and screen, and he doesn't even use it.
I use it
He
sometimes.
probably watched Tokyo Godfathers on his phone.
Ah.
It was
Uh,
an iPad, I'll have you know. No,
Oh no.
are you
no,
serious?
no. Um,
Uh,
I one of the scenes I quite enjoyed from the film is at the start. Obviously, they're at that little soup kitchen style
mm,
venue trying to get some
yeah.
food, and Hannah says to the lady that's pouring soup, "Can you give me a little extra? I'm eating for
Eating for
two."
two, yeah.
And the lady, obviously, seeing that Hannah is a trans woman, is considerably confused
Yeah.
and judgmental. And then later on, there's a scene where Hannah's actually got the little baby,
Yeah.
and the soup kitchen lady's coming down, and she sees Hannah.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
it's a miracle.
It was a miracle. I'm
Yeah.
like, it just gave me
Yeah.
quite the laugh.
Yeah, that
It's a
was
Um,
good
funny.
joke. And it also it's a good like I said, it's like her character is not just played for laughs. Like it's not just like haha, it's a drag queen or
Yeah,
whatever. Like it's very much like she's a real character, not with definitely with flaws.
mm,
But also like the whole like motherhood thing obviously is very important to the rest of the story,
Yeah.
both with the baby and the chosen family and um Miyuki and like taking her under the wing, and the same with Gin as like being this gruff father figure, and then Miyuki being like the moody teenage daughter
yeah,
slash
Yeah.
sister. Like it's this whole great thing. So it all ties together really well.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
I
as I've
also
said, everyone needs to go watch this movie.
Yeah, 100%. I also really like the scene. I don't want to spoil it too much, so I'll be sort of vague. They find a house and Gin walks through the door and the door falls
Oh
over.
yeah, yeah. Honey, I'm
Great.
home. Yeah, the honey, I'm home moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, that was peak scene. I had that written down. I'm like,
yeah,
Actually, when they're searching for the house and there's a little montage with music and they're like walking around trying to find the building and they're eating and it's just like this really cool. And then when they get to the house, is great. And then when all the old ladies come out and start
Oh,
gossiping,
that was probably my favorite scene.
so good.
The old lady gossip montage was
Yeah, it's like
great.
one
Yeah,
lady comes and she's like, I don't know, but maybe Mrs. Yamamuchi will know. And then the other lady
yeah,
comes
yeah,
like, I don't know, but maybe. And then like they end up this all these old ladies in the street gossiping. So good. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
um,
we all know things like that to have happened in real life.
I don't know because with obviously a lot of animes, when you bring in real world brands and you don't have licensing or you don't want to do the advertising,
Mm.
they'll just make up a funny similar name.
Yeah.
In this case, like very early on in the film, they have Four Roses bourbon whiskey, which is like straight up just a brand. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I saw a Subaru logo somewhere in there, which
Yeah.
I'm just like, respect, Like,
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I
like
mean,
What
for
is it?
me,
What is it? What is it that meme that's going around all the time now? It's like you could just do things.
yeah. I
because
think like obviously there is a big legal thing with it, but I think you technically can use whatever you want. I think it's just, especially with big Hollywood movies, is like that no one wants to,
no one wants to
they don't
show
want to
anything for
risk.
free, yeah, as
Yeah,
well.
you don't want you don't want to show anything for free, and you don't want to risk pissing anyone off because of
Mm,
the whole business aspect. But I mean, technically, I don't think there's anything stopping you from
no,
doing that.
but
But
a lot
Also
of shows
Japan,
don't.
like the law in Japan,
Yeah.
probably way
I mean,
different. I don't know.
Yeah,
on a similar vein, like, do you think McDonald's would have approved of Super Size Me? Like, probably not.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
a
something
similar vein.
where
It's kind
it's
of like you can't.
unavoidable. That's unavoidable. It's like
Yeah,
we're going for
yeah, but it's like
McDonald's. Like we're not gonna.
they can't
Yeah,
stop you doing it.
technically they can't
Yeah.
stop it. Yeah. Although actually, I was thinking about this while watching Tokyo Godfathers because I was watching on my Sony Blu-ray player, and I saw the Sony logo when I was putting my disc in, and I was like, in a lot of anime, like they have Sony products, but it says like phony or pony
Yeah,
in the same
pony. Yeah, I've
font.
seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking about that before. Actually, another thing, I watched the movie last night with the Japanese in the original Japanese with subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
And
too.
then
Yeah.
today while I was working, I put on the English dub so I didn't have to pay as much attention.
What's better?
Um, they're both really good.
Oh, okay.
I think Japanese is the best better in this case, but I think the English dub is really good. So if you're one of those people who can't, or won't watch the Japanese and subtitles, like the dub is actually pretty good.
Oh, good. I
Yeah,
watched it
so
Japanese,
yeah,
for the respectful first watch.
yeah, that's the correct. Although to be honest, like when I'm watching like Studio Ghibli or whatever, like I like to flip between, and then I sort of maybe I'll settle on
Man,
one.
you know what the cool thing about those movies on Blu-ray is? Is
Mm.
like you can turn on the concept art stuff if you have picture in
Yeah.
picture. So like when you're watching the movie, you can see the concept art for the scene in the corner.
Mm. Yeah, they're really cool, those things.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Physical media forever.
we're getting off track, but yes, physical media forever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyone else have any final thoughts about Tokyo Godfathers before we move on?
I think this is Satoshi Kon's most accessible movie. So if you're not familiar with his work, you could definitely watch this one first, but it also might give you a little bit of a not a wrong impression, but his other movies are
He gets
bit
weird.
darker, a bit stranger. Millennium Actress is not really a dark movie, but the way it plays with time and sort of go like the way it's told is a bit more unconventional. Tokyo Godfathers is a more conventional,
Mm.
straightforward story.
Perfect Blue is just insane.
Yeah, Perfect Blue is nuts. And yeah, like I said, Paprika is like my favorite. That movie's great. Um, but yeah, like he's just one of the great filmmakers, anime or not. Like
Yeah.
don't separate the
Yeah.
animation from the live action. Like he's just a great filmmaker, and these are great films.
That's a fantastic story above all else.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely check out Satoshi Kon's movies if you haven't, and definitely check out Tokyo Godfathers, which is a great movie and great Christmas movie.
And one of the
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
things I loved about it is this is like very, very like surface level, but so a lot of films will have like um opening credits for stuff,
Yeah.
and the opening credits for this were all built into the scenes.
Yeah,
Like it was on the
billboards.
billboard on the side of the truck, little flag things.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's so cool. Like,
Yeah.
it shows you really
The
care rather than just be like, just write it. No, we're gonna make it into the scene. It's
yeah. Yeah, it fits in the movie of like the
The
actually
bustle,
yeah.
the hustle, and the
Yeah.
bustle, and
That's such a great it's like the start of the movie when they find the baby and then it just cuts to Tokyo Godfathers and it's like on the side of a truck and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
title drop.
yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
All right. I guess we still have a tiny little bit of time left. Do we want to mention anything else tonight?
Um, I had a couple other Christmas movies I watched. We're recording this on the 23rd, so we still got a couple days left. So I'll probably fit in a couple more Christmas movies. on the next couple of days. Um, I did watch. I didn't watch as many as maybe I wanted to. I did watch uh, a short film on Disney Plus called An Almost Christmas Story, which just came out this year. It's only like 20 minutes long. It's like a little stop motion short about an owl who gets separated uh, and gets lost in New York City and gets lost from the forest from his family. And then it finds a little girl and they kind of try to help each other and set during Christmas. It's just a nice, wholesome
Yeah.
um, little story with really nice animation. It's got this kind of cardboard cutout-y, kind of stop motion-y look. That was really nice. And it reminded me of a short film that came out on Netflix a few years ago that I watched called Robin Robin, which was about a little bird who's raised by mice. And then she's like, trying to find her real identity because she obviously doesn't fit in. And that's during Christmas as well. And she goes on a self journey of self-discovery. So if you've got Netflix and Disney Plus, they're like I think Robin Robin's like half an hour and an Almost Christmas Story is like 20 minutes. So in an hour you can watch these two films back to back about these little birds during Christmas. I think that would be a good little double feature and something that's not as big a commitment as a whole movie, and something very light, especially for kids, but good for adults as well.
Um,
Um,
so in
yeah,
Australia at least, Tokyo Godfathers is the fifth most searched anime movie on Google today.
That's
that
awesome.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you can
tis the
watch,
season.
yep, tis the season, and you can watch Tokyo Godfathers at home by renting it from Apple TV for $2.99 or Amazon Prime Video for $4.99. Um, I have nothing but praise. For me, it is a 5 star and a heart on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
It is an absolute masterpiece.
yeah, banger.
Please go watch it.
Mm.
Um,
R.I.P. Satoshi gone too
yeah,
soon.
gone way too soon, man. Way,
Mm.
way too soon.
Yeah,
Some of these Japanese animators live till like they're 100, Imagine all the movies he could have made.
yeah,
Anyway, anyone else
yeah.
have anything for the episode before we call it a day?
No, I think that's good.
That's good. All
Merry
right.
Christmas and happy holidays and all that stuff to all the listeners
Yeah.
out there.
Well, there's a good chance we'll also do another one of these next week. For a New
Yeah,
Year's
we'll,
episode or something.
yeah, we'll figure something out. We'll
Yeah.
upload something.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, everyone.
It's one of
Um,
those things where if we would ask sorry Nathan, if we were to ask what's our favorite New Year's Day movie, there's only really one that we could talk about. It's like what Stranger Days. That's it.
Strange Days, yeah. What
Stranger
are other New Year's movies? Hang on.
When
Actually,
Home
maybe
and Sally tangentially
yeah.
counts
Yeah, there are a lot of movies that end like in New Year's,
as
but
the
you wouldn't
ball
really
drops.
call them New Year's movies.
or the Y2K, I guess. The documentary from HBO we
I remember
watched.
we made plans to have
Yeah.
Kenny G playing at midnight and we never did.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wrote it down so we won't forget this year. There's also that Y2K movie that came out this year,
Yeah.
which I haven't seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that next week maybe. There's some
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y2
Sorry, I
New
just got a
New Year
little brain
movies.
fart
No.
there.
That's all right.
All right. Again, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. You can catch the Tuesday Review on all the socials at Tuesday Review AU. That's Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Newsmask, Blue Sky, Twitter, and YouTube. Please remember to rate us on all the or whatever platforms you use to listen. It
Rate
helps us a lot.
review helps us
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Rate, review, and subscribe if you're not already. You ring that bell on YouTube.
Hmm.
We're also on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan B _90.
I
I'm
am Channel Drifter.
I am
I'm,
Callum Tuesday.
I'm Alan 20. You cut me off there, Cal.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
remember.
Alan's doesn't matter because he still hasn't updated
I'll
it.
update it when I want to. You
Uh,
people can wait.
yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. And adios, cousins.